what's an indicator of a successful franchise? That they buy more.
Yeah.
That they want more units, they want more territories because they're doing really well. For me, in terms of purpose in life, that's one of the most incredible things that I can say I have an opportunity to participate in, and that's the success of other people.
Where you jumped in on one of the flips and you're like, guys, I figured something out. I'm sorry, I'm doing my dad's accent right now. I figured something out. If we build an extension in the back, the additional 100 square feet will get us this much, and then we'll be in a triple digit for sure. And you're like geeking out. Everybody's like, all right, cool, let's do that. And you're like, yeah. So it makes sense. Like adding value gets you hyped up, right? And having that.
Big time. I know the house you're talking about is Highland. It's a house out in Maryville neighborhood here of Phoenix, Arizona. And everybody was passing on the house. It was sitting on the MLS for months. Because if you looked at it, if you looked at it just for square foot to square foot, you couldn't renovate it and make any money because, at that size, the highest sale was a specific dollar amount. But, a few hundred square feet larger, and all of a sudden we're in this completely different price point.
Yeah.
And it was that because I saw, oh my goodness, all the houses on this street and in this entire subdivision here are 2-bed, 1-bath.
Yeah.
I mean, who lives that way any longer, right? We got larger families. We got larger people. We have stuff. Americans have so much stuff. You look at the amount of storage units that get rented on a monthly basis. It's just Americans are addicted to our things, right? Yeah. And so you need a 3-bed, 2-bath at bare minimum these days. And so that's where the value was. I totally geek out on things like that. Yeah. It's what drives me, It's seeing the potential, right? Like I saw that and I'm like, what's the highest and best use here? Oh, that's the potential gap. Now I have... See, this is where I'm talking about real estate agents and investors getting together and really understanding higher and better use cases for a property because a real estate agent couldn't sell that thing for months. It sat on the MLS getting stale. The seller was like, what's happening? And they didn't have the capacity to lower their price any further because they'd be underwater from at that point. Yeah. So the market rejected that that property as it sat. The market rejected it at that price. But when you saw a better use case for it and you create a new use case for it, well, now you have a new potential gap. And that's how we earn money and make a living. I think wholesaling has been so misunderstood in the world of real estate agents because it's the lowest barrier to entry and it's usually a starting point for many investors. So that's where they come into the whole game. And so that it lends itself to a lot of unsophisticated people learning off of YouTube, not really understanding what to do, shooting from the hip, getting things wrong, disappointing sellers, maybe not being fully transparent and honest with the real estate agents. And, it's the dishonesty and it's the lack of understanding and education from the people being involved that's creating the misunderstanding, not the business model itself. And that's what I'm trying to bridge the gap with.
Yeah. So for somebody who wants to get into real estate, how should they decide if they want to become an agent, an investor, a wholesaler, or should some people consider, dabbling in all three?
I don't think that should be a distinction at any time.
Yeah.
I think that when you are in real estate, you need to understand real estate, and whether that means you hold a license, good. Everybody in my company holds a license except for me. You know that?
Wow.
The only one that doesn't have a real estate license in my entire organization. All my staff do, my transaction coordinators do. They have to because they're negotiating contracts on my behalf, and the Department of Real Estate in Arizona requires you to hold a license if you're negotiating contracts or price on behalf of an entity you don't own. Mm. And so my people are licensed. But that doesn't make them real estate agents who drive around people from showing to showing. They could do that, and they do that for friends, family, and other retail clients they find. That's their own side thing. They get to do what they want with their license. But when they're in my office and they're working on their day on leads that we provide them, we're in the business of buying and selling real estate for a profit.
Yeah.
And so they put the investor hat on, and then they put the agent hat on when they need to put the agent hat on. And, I think that we need to stop putting ourselves in these boxes of this is what I do, and this is the robot I am, and this is my program, and I only have this program. And if you give me another program, I'm going to break. We're human beings.
Yeah.
We have neuroplasticity. They say that we can learn new things all the way up into the time we die. So why would you want to sit and be the agent who's just got a magnet on somebody's fridge when you should be the agent that, and that's the dinosaur age, right? That's like, what are you doing for marketing, real estate agent? Well, I had a headshot about a decade ago. I'm on people's fridges. I've got magnets and I've got, pens and pads. And, I know every time somebody scribbles a note to their husband and my face is on it that used to look like me 10 years ago, they're going to remember me to sell their house one day.
Yeah.
No, they're not. They're going to look at the person that's scrolling up on their phone. They're going to talk to the person that has been in their face, or the one that they resonate with because they know more about their story. They're going to be with the person not who looks like they did 10 years ago that I won't even recognize when you show up to my door to list my property. They're going to talk to the person who they saw 30 seconds ago on their feed.
Yeah. No, that's good. You're so right, because we've interacted with so many different wholesalers, but there's one guy that I will always give a deal to, because when he says I'm going under contract, I know that he's going to close on it no matter what. And he's an amazing he knows the disposition of anything. So whenever I'm dealing with any issues, if it's like a hard ass seller on the other side, they don't want to go on the market, whatever the case it is, I'm like, I have an option for you. And here's the option. And it just gets done. I don't have to worry about it after the fact. But then the guys who screwed up or weren't honest in the beginning, or just like, yeah, I am the cash buyer, I am going to close on it. But then they give you fake reasons at the end of it. That's what gives it like a bad name you don't want to associate with anymore. But it's not all like that. The idea of wholesaling is different.
Correct. I think every investor should always look at a property with the eyes of, could this be a flip? Could this be a hold? Could this be a wholesale? And so for me, I disclose all of that in one very, very clear statement on all of my contracts. Buyer is an LLC in the business of buying and selling real estate for a profit. At any point, buyer may decide to fix and flip, buy and hold, or wholesale the contract at buyer's sole discretion during the inspection period. All rights reserved. This is the most clear way to disclose to everybody involved that this is what I do, this is what might happen, and now you know.
Yeah.
Right.
That's perfect.
No problems later.
Yeah. In terms of scaling that's like a completely different thing. So like you can do the wholesaling, you become a beast at it yourself, but scaling an operation of that sort is a completely different thing. How'd you do that?
Well, I didn't do it alone. So the thing is I I'm good at what I do, which is acquisitions. I'm an act guy. At the end of the day, that's my my pedigree is I understand building relationships, I understand numbers, I understand where to buy. So that's my magic. I'm a good brand face, and that's what I ended up being, right? So in order to systematize and build, what we did is it was really about going in and looking at what does each key person in this business do day to day, and what are the tasks closest to the money, right? Because those are the things we want to scale. Those are the pieces that we need to make sure that we have our highest and best talent on. Yeah. And so when we looked at the business as, okay, let's identify the key aspects that are closest to the money, and then let's systematize and build those up. Then we can build the infrastructure around them to support those, because we understand the profit centers in our business. And this is what keeps you from spending money on dumb stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like, and so many people who scale spend money on dumb things. They don't spend money where the money needs to be spent, which is truly moving the needle on revenue in the company, right? And so when we scaled with that in mind, and it thankfully worked.
Yeah.
Walk me through, what's it look like if I wanted to start a Keighley franchise in our market? And what do I get from that relationship?
Yeah, you'd want to first reach out to our team and see if the market's available. So, because there's a finite number of markets and franchises that we are able to sell. So, that would be the first key. Find out if it's available. Second, you would come in for a discovery day, meaning you'd either, join us virtually over Zoom, or you'd fly in and you would see the operation. You would see the nuts and bolts of what we do every day. You would look at the different departments, like our intake department, which is the largest department that we have at Keighley, and that's the department in charge of building our buyers lists. That's the one part of what we do better than anyone else, in my opinion, is have access to and create these relationships with buyers that are actually pulling the trigger, that are actually moving deals and doing business in your market. And so you would see that. You would then see, what do our acquisitions people do on a day-to-day basis? And you would understand and interview some folks on that department. You would look at the dispositions department and say, okay, what are these folks doing on a day-to-day basis, and how are they compensated, and what's their workflow look like? And then you'd look at the administrative and the technology side of the business and say, what levels of support are we receiving technologically from this company, and how is our CRM managed, and how is our data tracked, and how do we make sure that we're not leaving leads behind, or that we're not nurturing opportunities that could be lucrative in the future because we don't know how to talk to them, or what technology to use to communicate. Yeah. And so you'd really get a bird's eye, and then a front door view of like, okay, this is what it all looks like. So after that, there's typically a cooling off period from when you get the franchise disclosure document, which is really thoroughly auditing our financials and all of the things that we provide as the franchisor. So again, I want to be clear, I can't just run down that list with you right now on a
Sure.
a quick podcast, because the franchise disclosure document is quite thorough. But part of what you receive is absolute support from us. You also get buyer leads, you get seller leads, you get the infrastructure, you get the brand. I'm very well known around the country for this business, and so there's a lot of goodwill that just comes naturally from the lead source and the funnel source of my work in the world, right? And so that becomes a very valuable and key point to the business as well. So there's so many really interesting and really impressive aspects of what we provide our franchisees. I think it's one of the most incredible business models. For instance, I have a franchisee right now that he was the medic on our TV show.
Wow.
And he literally, his job was to put Q-tips up our noses and test us daily for COVID, because he was the COVID compliance officer, right? And so but he saw what was going on at the company. He's like, dude, this is incredible. Like, what are you guys doing here? And how much does that guy make a month? What?
Yeah.
And then he's like thinking about his life, and he's like, what am I doing here? Then he gets his wife pregnant while they're on the show, right? And he's just like, dude, I'm so stressed out. Claudia's gonna have a baby, and I need to make more money. I'm interested. What could I do? I think I really want to take a look at taking a stab at this franchise thing. And so ultimately he ends up becoming one. He's just closed on his third unit, right? And so you think about that. Like, what's an indicator of a successful franchise? That they buy more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That they want more units, they want more territories because they're doing really well. And so for me, in terms of purpose in life, that's one of the most incredible things that I can say I have an opportunity to participate in, and that's the success of other people.
Yeah. No, I love that. That's awesome. If you had to walk us through some of the things or because as you're talking, I'm like, damn, why did I ever get into real estate sales? I should have done wholesaling to begin with, because I would have the luxury of options at that point in time. Like, do I want to keep it? Do I want to flip it? Do I want to wholesale it?
Well, I always try to preface this when I'm talking to people, because I have the same mentality. I mean, we grew up in the Mike Ferry program.
Same as Monique Walker. Shout out to Monique.
Monique Walker. Yep. I know she had connected us.
Oh, love her.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we're still, in coaching. We grew up in this world of prospecting. You have to get out and hunt for business. So I would say over the last year, it's been like, I've spent so much time hunting for so many other people, other investors. I mean, we're all hunters, right? Like, even if you're just working with a buyer these days, you're hunting for a property for them. But I mean, we grew up spending the first 4 hours of every single day, 8 o'clock to 12 o'clock on the phone, headset.
Canceled and expired.
Canceled and expired. Yep.
Yeah.
And, like I was watching a reel you put up recently about tracking your numbers. And at 12 o'clock, it was like, you felt like shit if you didn't make 50 contacts. So anyway, I was just saying that, I've had the epiphany over the last year or two, that I should be hunting for my own deals. But I think the problem with a lot of real estate agents is they say, well, I don't have enough money, or I don't have enough cash stored away to buy a property to do a fix and flip. So that's why I think it's so great that guys like you and Pace are putting out so much content about, buying property without cash or without credit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and really it's squatting up, right? Bringing private money lenders to the table. We show you how to do that. You want to fix and flip, we'll provide you and open doors to hard money relationships. And if you don't have the down payment, there's private money lenders that'll come in and give you the down payment. And then this hard money lender will give you 85% plus, full rehab. And I lend myself as well. So I do transactional funding. And if I've got somebody who's like, hey, I got an A to B, and I've got a purchase and sell contract. I got this house under contract and I have a buyer for it, but I unfortunately can't assign it, or I can't double close it because of a state regulation or because of a title company situation. And so we'll come in with transactional funding, close your AB, and then your BC can close a couple days later. And so there's so many ways. You don't need money.
Yeah,
right. You can use transactional funding. There's so many legal and very, very attractive ways to get in and do this. The key here is knowing that you can change hats.
Yes.
I think the problem is we put on a hat and then we're like, this is my character.
Yeah.
And okay. I mean, if you're okay with being, one character, I guess that's fine. But wouldn't it be so much cooler if you could be 5?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're so right.
I think people just have the fear of leaving, you know, like we were taught, like again in the MFO program, to hunt for the listings, and the fear of leaving that business to try to do something else is tough, but you're still hunting.
Yeah,
no matter how you dice it.